Hey, welcome to the channel. This is what booktubers do, isn't it? You come on and you talk about what you read in the month of January. So this is my first monthly read. I've read 4 books, 2 fiction, 2 non-fiction. And I'm going to tell you all about them now, without any ranking or system. I'm going to start with the non-fiction one because it's the one I've just got out the loft because I cleared my bookshelf, put away my book reads, and I put it in the loft. It's Greater by Penny Mordaunt and Chris Lewis. Politics. Not really my thing, but I wanted it to be. So about a year ago I started looking into politics a bit more, trying to figure out who I am and what my place is in the world. And why Penny Mordaunt? Well, it's funny. I saw her at King Charles' coronation, wearing that amazing outfit she had on, you know, the blue with the gold and the hat and the sword, and I was like, who's that? It's Penny Mordaunt. So she's leader of the House of Commons, she's Lord President of the Privy Council, so I believe it's that position that made her responsible for leading the procession at King Charles' coronation. And that made me look up her book, and honestly I enjoyed it. It was easy to read. That's always a plus with a political book, because I have read some others that weren't, you know. And also I'm following a YouTuber called Plant-Based Bride, and I looked at the way that she was annotating her books for her BookTube channel, and I was like, ooh, I'd like to do that. So look at those lovely tabs. I've put tabs in. I didn't take notes in digital form, and honestly I'm not quite sure what to do with these. So what I've done is I've found a page here that I've underlined a couple of things that I think really give a good flavour of what this book is about. The Penny Mordaunt's very pro-democracy, pro-capitalism, and this is what she has to say. The light cast by democracy and free speech serves many purposes. Democracy is the light, capitalism is the heat. They are central to the notion of free speech. Capitalism is the music to which suppliers and consumers move, and politicians and central bankers are the conductors of the band. So, yeah, that gives you an idea of her take. Really, it's all about Great Britain in a post-Brexit world, post-COVID world. So it was written after that, after the lockdowns. She didn't go into any of the Partygate stuff, so maybe it was written before any of that, I don't know, but it seems to be glaring by its omission that Boris Johnson doesn't get a mention. So yeah, perhaps it was written before all that. She believes Great Britain is great still, and we just need to run it better. You know, it's not rocket science. We all know that, don't we? And I think the conclusion I've come to is that I'm probably going to dip out of politics now and read more about spirituality and about self-help stuff, about personal development, let's call it, and fantasy and fiction and literature. I think my time would be much better spent reading stuff like that than reading about politics, because, you know, honestly, I think probably spent about a year reading non-fiction books about politics, and I'm planning to make a 2023 reads video, so look out for that. Right, moving on from that, shall we do a fiction one? I mentioned Plant-Based Bride. So I'm new to BookTube. You might have noticed this is only my second video. What brought me into it was Plant-Based Bride. I won't go into how I found her and why and all that. I might do that in another video, but she runs a book club, and I've joined her Patreon, and I've read the January book and the February book. So the January book is called The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. I absolutely loved this book. It really gave the message across about why reading is such a useful and powerful thing to do. And I had only just written a blog post about this in my daily morning pages, which I publish on my website, camscampbell.com. Check it out. And I'd written an entry about how much reading means to me before I'd started reading this book. It was very serendipitous, coincidental, whatever you want to call it. And this book was just beautifully written about human connection and about connection through books. And one of the main characters is a young woman who works in a library. She's a student. She's working in the library over the summer, and she's having a difficult time with the customers. It's not a job that she particularly aspires to. She just needs the money. So she's working in the library and not having a good time. And she's being quite rude to the customers. And it does go into a little bit of how that makes her feel and why she's been rude to the customers. And this is, I mean, you don't know any of my history, of course you don't, because you're new here and it's a new channel, but I talk about stuff like this on my other channel, and I recently posted a video about my time working behind a post office counter as sub-postmaster for 12 years. I was one of the victims of the Horizon scandal, and I went into what that job did to my mental health, and I was rude at times to customers, embarrassingly so. So I could relate to this character in a really big way. And it goes through the story about a reading list, funnily enough, book title. And on the list are, is it 8 books, I think? And it talks about how different characters find this reading list. It's not made clear where the list has come from. These people find the list, and it's about how they come to life. One of the characters deals with grief by reading the books on the list, and he comes to befriend the librarian, and a relationship starts. Not a romantic relationship, a human connection relationship. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. The ending was very satisfying. There were some goosebumps and a moistness in the eyes, I'm not going to lie. It's one that I thoroughly enjoyed and would heartily recommend. I'm looking forward to the discussion, which is going to be on this Saturday over on Plant-Based Bride's Patreon. So that will be my first book club discussion. I'm excited for it. Right, the next non-fiction book. This was a biggie. You'd think I would have got it ready, wouldn't you? So on my desk, Handbook for Hard Times by Gaylong Thubten. I heard Gaylong's interview on Slow Mo podcast with Mo Gaudat, and I absolutely adored it. Gaylong is a monk of many years, and he talked on the podcast about his journey through becoming a monk and how he lives his life now, how he applies what he's learned. So when I said I was giving up politics for spiritual stuff and personal development stuff, this is the kind of thing I was talking about. So I will be doing a proper review of this later on, because I listened to it in audiobook format and I loved it. But as I was listening to it when I was out walking the dog, and that tends to be where I listen, I was like, oh, I'd really like to take notes on this, because it was really hitting me and giving me so much wisdom, stuff that I wanted to keep, you know. So I started going through it. I actually bought the hardback book to go through it again and to do just that. And I've been highlighting using the tab system, underlining. For example, it is our habit of chasing pleasure and running away from hardship that is the real problem. I can relate to that. Many of us long to go deeper, to fully understand our true nature, and to bring a greater level of peace and happiness to the world. that's me. A roadmap to fearlessness. Certainly could do with some of that. And in each chapter, it ends with a meditation. So the audiobook's very short. You think you've got a long way to go, but you get to the meditations, it's about half the book. It's about 2 hours worth of meditations. So I'm still reading through it and highlighting it, but at the same time, I'm going through the meditations after swimming every morning. I sit in the car, I put my AirPods in and I listen to the meditation for the day. And I sit and look at the countryside, because I happen to live in a beautiful location, on a Scottish island. So look forward to a review coming when I've got some notes and stuff to share, a longer review. And the final book I read was another Plant-Based Bride one. This was the February choice, A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Another one, a banger. Yeah. I'd heard of Naomi Novik on the Incomparable podcast, or the Incomparable as they call it, because they're American. And I'd never read any, but I'd liked the reviews that I'd heard on the Incomparable. So when this one came up, I was like, yeah, let's have a go. So I borrowed it from the library, which is why I can't hold it up for you right now. It was a lovely hardback book. It sounded good, you know, when you do that. So I'll tap that one just to give you the hardback sound that I love. It was a very easy book to read, big text, not terribly long, and engaging. However, the first half, there was a moment where I was like, is this for me? You know, it's kind of like a dark version of Harry Potter in some ways. Loved Harry Potter. And I'm not saying Harry Potter's not dark, because there's obviously plenty of darkness in that. If you've read it, you'll know. If you've seen the films, you'll know. But this was dark in a different way. It was like the chances of surviving through the schooling system to graduation were pretty slim, you know. Lots of death through the year, and then as you got closer to graduation, the chances of getting out the school, surviving, were pretty grim. It introduced a lot of concepts. The magic system was quite complicated. The concept of the school's situation and the pupil's place in the world. It had muggles in it, but they were called something else. Same concept. Can't remember what they were called now. Some of the monsters in it were very cleverly created and quite horrific, particularly the Mawmouth. Look out for the Mawmouth if you read the book. M-A-W, mouth. Horrible creature. And a lot of it was to do with relationships, friendships, politics, that kind of thing. Not politics in Penny Mordaunt sense, but politics in a school pupil sense. I'm kind of too long away from school to be able to relate to that very well, but you know, it was interesting, and that's partly why I thought the book wasn't for me, because I'm reading about teenagers. It's kind of a young adult book, I would say. So that's partly why I didn't think it was really my cup of tea, per se. But I did enjoy it. I got to the end of it. The ending was really good. And I think I'll continue. I could see myself maybe getting the audiobook for one of them, for the next one. It's a trilogy, so yeah, I'd quite like to follow the characters and see how they turn out. So that was me. 4 books, 1 month. It's not a massive amount. Some of the book channels I'm looking at on Discord as I grow into becoming a booktuber. You know, 4 seems like a drop in the ocean compared to what some other people are reading, but you know, I'm getting through them and I'm enjoying them, and I want to read more deeply. So that's why I'm coming on here. As I'm going through them with the tabbing system, the Readwise system that I'm using, the note taking, the highlighting, the underlining, and then coming on camera and talking about it. It's all going to help me to read more deeply, and I'm looking forward to making more book content. So stick around, support me if you can. I'd love to have you with me while I go through some of them over there. There'll be some Russia stuff coming up. I do read a lot about Russia, about Soviet Russia in particular. A lot of fantasy, some sci-fi, some classics, some philosophy, some meditation stuff, some self-help stuff. An eclectic mix. So stick around and I'll see you again in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.